3 days, 500 miles, one champion of risk mitigation. This week, I am leaving the relative tranquility of the West Country and heading east. Braving the chaos of the M25 into North London, heading deep into Kent to hunt for hazards among the cobblestones of Canterbury, and skirting the coast to Brighton for a bit of sea air. All before heading back home. In this series, Scenario takes to the skies. I reveal secrets about the contents of a risk surveyor's car, and I question my own sanity to a 2000s cartoon theme song. Welcome to On the Road.
So today we're doing something a little bit different. So the last video we were in Norway, myself and Nick, but this time I'm in the south of the UK, and I'm doing a 3-day trip, and I'm heading up to North London first for a survey there. Gonna go look at a church, and then after that I'm heading to Canterbury for a 2-night stay where I'll be looking at some engineering and a few waste risks, and then I'll be going down to Brighton to look at 2 metal recyclers down there. Doing it solo this time, no companionship of Mr. Lloyd, but yeah, let's see how we get on. I believe the team's prepped some questions for me to answer on the way, so I'll be doing a couple of those here and there, but yeah, hope you enjoy. So when does a survey actually start for me? You would think it would be when I turn up on site or I shake hands with the client, but actually it starts from the moment it hits my diary, even if it's a few months away. And what's going on there is that I'm already scoping it out. I'm seeing where it is, what I'll be doing. I'm checking the paperwork's all there so that I can carry the survey effectively. And if there's anything missing, or if perhaps when I'm trying to search the address I can't find the location, which does sometimes happen because it's not entirely obvious where Unit 1A is of a larger industrial site. So sometimes these things take a little bit of researching, and if there's anything missing, then I'd rather go back sort of two months in advance, or a couple of weeks, or however long I've got when it gets put into the diary, because it happens at different times, and ask then, rather than say it's on a Monday, rather than checking on a Friday night or Friday evening at 4 o'clock and everyone's already logged off for the afternoon, it's down the pub. So yeah, it doesn't really work doing it that way. I think the other thing is I don't like being caught off guard. So by doing sort of that scoping out of it all that early on, my brain is kind of already chewing on it in the background. It's kind of already, if I've looked at what the industry is and what they're doing, say it's woodworking, then my brain is already, even in the background, just sort of mentally preparing for what I need to go through and what I need to cover. And then that way, when I come to look at it and prep properly for the survey, I already kind of have a general idea of what I want to do and what I'm looking for. I think the thing is that I like to just be as prepared as I can be before I even press the start button in the car. You're probably listening to the one best answer out of all of this, but perhaps I've said it 2 or 3 times because I've stumbled over what I'm trying to say, or I'm just sat here going, What does the drive to site tell you that a report never will? Good question. The thing with a report, or like a desktop survey report, is that you can get the square footage out of it. You can understand bits about the construction, and you can get the information about what they're doing and how they're doing it. But what you lose is the general vibe of the area it's situated in. Take, for example, a rural area versus an urban area. In a rural area, you're less likely to come across graffiti and vandalism, and it does happen, absolutely, but you're less likely to come across it. And it's kind of, whatever that business or risk is, it's kind of out of the way and sort of out of sight, kind of out of mind. But an urban area, you get a lot of information from that. If you take any city or town that you can think of, and if when you're going around it, there are what we could call more affluent areas where shops are open, there's not really anywhere closed down nearby, versus somewhere that perhaps has got potholes and boarded up windows and doesn't look like it's had the benefit of much investment, should we say, and sometimes that can impact on the risk you're about to see. Doesn't always, of course not, but these are things we have to consider, and that can completely change the risks profile. So right now we're going through a rural area, and I don't know if you can see out my window, but sort of the general vibe, we've just gone past the thatched pub just there. This is quite a quaint, I'm not sure if this is a town or a village, but it's quite a quaint little area, which is quite lovely, and the roads are nice, and the buildings look to be well maintained. There's probably a couple of grade listed ones here, no doubt. So I've just arrived in North London. The car park I was trying to go to was not there. So I had to drive around a bit and try and find one. And I've just managed to find one on a rooftop. Just randomly out here. There's probably, I don't know, 30 spaces, and 3 of them are full, including me. So that was quite lucky. But yeah, I'm here. I've got about 30 minutes, but I'll probably head over in about 20 minutes. Yeah, I think I would just read through my notes. This is the part of the job, sitting in the car before you get there, having a quick read of your notes just to double check, have another look over what you're about to discuss before you get there. And then once I'm ready to go, I'll just change my shoes over, because I'm wearing my driving shoes, not my smart shoes, which is what I like to wear when I'm doing these surveys, unless it's boots. But yeah, so I will do that, and then we'll go and do the survey. Unfortunately, you're not coming in, but I can let you know how it went afterwards, and we can make our way down to Canterbury. So yeah, I will catch you in a bit. The question I'm answering now is, what's the first thing I noticed when I arrived on site? And the first thing I noticed is, sure, the age, but the 2 things you can see from the outside are the security of the premises and the general maintenance, the general housekeeping. I'm looking at the attitude that management's displaying on the outside of the premises, the buildings, the moment I get there. I have to think of it like this. I'm not so worried if it's a 1960s building, but it's got secure fencing. Perhaps I've noticed CCTV on arrival. The yard is clearly swept, and maintenance at least appears to be quite good. But if you compare that with a modern building, where the fences are wide open and there's rubbish all over the yard, and maintenance appears to be quite lacking, if management at least give the impression that they can't be bothered to at least secure and keep the site tidy, then for me, that sends up a massive red flag. So those are the things I'm looking for when I arrive initially. What sets off that initial impression with how the rest of the survey may go. The first impressions will matter. The question I'm going to answer is, what's the risk you've spotted from outside a building that changed your whole read once inside? It's a good question. But I'm just on my way to the hotel now. I can't wait to get into bed. Let's go. So what is something that I've spotted on site that made me change my attitude when I went in? I'll tell you one site I went to. It was actually quite recent, maybe in the last 6 months. I remember arriving. I mean, there are definitely some sites where you get there and you look up and you go, what on earth am I looking at? And I had one of those not too long ago. And essentially, I won't say what the risk was, but I arrived and I looked up at one of the buildings on the site, and it was scaffolding with sort of metal profile sheets, but one end of it was being supported by shipping containers. And of course, your initial thought, and it didn't look super stable either, and of course your initial thought is like, oh, crikey, so your mind sort of shifts to checking sort of the structural. I mean, I'm not a structural engineer by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't pretend to be. But I'm looking for areas where there's potential buckling or concerns of the overall structure. So looking around, I spotted a couple of areas where, well, actually on this one, we got the drone out and I was able to get it flying around the back of the building. And
at the rear of the building, I could see where the part of the metal profile wall had actually buckled, because what was going on inside that building was the shredding of timber to create wood chip, but it had piled so high and got so heavy that it actually buckled the metal. And what was happening was that was then allowing that wood chip to spill out over or through the gap into the sort of rough green area behind. And what was more pressingly concerning was the fact that it was near a rail line. And if that hadn't been caught there and then, and it allowed to continue, it may have encroached onto the rail line. So, that was one of those things that was highlighted. Essentially what I did, as part of my risk improvements, which are raised as part of the report, is I required a structural engineer to go out and check to ensure that that structure was in fact structurally sound. And we did get that report back in the end, because what we do at Scenario is we have a service we call aftercare, where we follow up on the risk improvements and breaches ourselves, so that we remain involved usually until the end. So I was following up on it, and I received the structural engineer's report, and I read through it, and in summary, the structure was sound. They were quite happy with what was there. But it is just one of those where sometimes you turn up, you look at it, you go, what on earth? And then you have to go into something you weren't expecting to have to go into and check. But these sort of things do happen every now and then, where you're expecting to see one thing when you arrive on a premises, and it's completely the opposite, or something completely far left field, and then you have to work with what you've got and try and ask the right questions and do the right checks. So yeah. But I tell you what though, it does make that does make this job quite interesting. When I explain what this job sort of involves when you're out doing a survey, they sort of say, how do you know what to ask and things like that. I say, well, generally there's a pretty universal structure to a survey that we all ask and have the answer to everything. And part of being a good risk surveyor is knowing what you don't know, or being humble enough to admit you don't know, and then go away and find the information, confirm that information, and then relay that back. So no day really is the same, and you'll always get to come across something you haven't come across before. No day is the same, and you could go to a sawmill one day and it operates one way, and you go to another sawmill another day and it operates a completely different way. So nothing is the same. So there is a lot of variety, really interesting stuff you come across. I think that's quite a long-winded answer to the question that was asked. But yeah, it is brilliant, this job. I genuinely love this job. It's not even a job anymore. It's not really work. It's essentially a hobby I get paid to do. And I think that's always the aim in life, isn't it? Is to find something you enjoy, do it. If you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life. That's this for me. I love it. Why do I love it? Well, my jokey answer is because I get to drive around all day, which sometimes I do. But if we're getting down to it, like today at that survey in London, the people were fantastic. They're brilliant, so receptive, so engaging, and you don't have to go in being hard-nosed and rigid. You can have a laugh with people. Respect. You have to be respectful, of course you do, but I find I'm just myself, my professional self, so I'm not in there effing and blinding and things like that. So you get the real me, so I'm not putting on some facade or fake face. It's me you get, for better or for worse. I've been doing this, 3 or 4 years now, and I've got a history of background in insurance, so I've been working in this industry for, 6 or 7 years now, I think it is. And honestly, if I'd known that risk surveying, risk consultancy was a job back then, I think I would have made an effort to come and do this first. But I am where I am. Things may not have worked out this way if they'd been different, but I'm pretty happy with the way things have worked out. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool. So this is it now. I'm comfortable.
I'm in the car and I'm comfortable, so I'm yapping away at you lot. If it looks like I'm looking at my phone, I'm looking in the rear view mirror actually. 4 minutes to my hotel. Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait to get into bed. This is it, we're here. Where should we park? Where should we park, ladies and gents? Well, before I do the little car was there and I pulled into this space and the car in front of me just left, so I'm ready to go. Catch you later.